should sellers that have gotten their first BTO from HDB sell their HDB flat at M.O.P. M.O.P. of course means minimum occupation period, right? And it's 5 years.
Hi everyone, I'm Eugene.
My name is Casey.
And this is
the Singapore Property Talk Show. Casey here, I'm a banker turned real estate salesperson and also an investor myself. Right now, I help many couples and households upgrade to their dream home and also invest in a viable property.
Hi everyone, I'm Eugene Chieng. I'm a realtor for 10 years and also an owner and investor of multiple properties in Singapore. I specialize in asset progression and help many families achieve the same as myself.
The aim of the Singapore Property Talk Show is to empower the everyday Singaporean
with the knowledge of the property market on the ground.
Welcome to the Singapore Property Talk Show. We will be talking about HDB BTO M.O.P. First question, I think a lot of people out there should sellers, right, that have gotten their first BTO from HDB sell their HDB flat at M.O.P. M.O.P. of course means minimum occupation period, right? And it's 5 years. So what do you think, Eugene?
Well, there's a lot of, this is a very common questions that we get on the ground and a lot of people wonder about this. And for me, I usually suggest to people to sell if they have the necessary requirements or they have certain goals that they want to head towards, whether it be for upgrading, whether it be for moving closer to parents or moving to a school or location of their choice. Yeah.
Okay, so I think my own experience here is that, of course, I did serve quite a few numbers of HDB M.O.P. sellers. I think a lot of them, the motivation is after staying there for 5 years already, waiting probably 3 to 4 years after it is being built, right? I think first up, a lot of time when people move, it's about family.
Correct.
Right? Their kids have already grown up a little bit and they are thinking about, they want to probably go into the primary school of their choice, right? To increase the probability of their going, they probably want to go within 1 to 2 kilometers. Correct. Education is very important in Singapore. So I think there is one big factor that people are thinking about. I think secondly is that, like you mentioned, HDB, when they launch their BTO, right, there's only so many clusters that they can actually choose for. Maybe they would like to move near to their parents, right, for their parents to probably take care of their young children. That is one factor as well. Yep. And of course, there is also explorational kind of factor. I think these are the 3 main factors that I do see on the ground when we are serving a lot of sellers out there, is that maybe they might want to move into, say, an EC next, right? Because every Singaporean have 2 chances, right?
Correct.
So BTO EC or BTO
first
BTO.
chance, second chance.
Or they, their income have increased, they might want to go ahead to purchase maybe a resale private property or even a new private property that they can enjoy the facility while their children are still young and they are grown up. They can, have classes, swimming classes and the likes inside, like so condo facility. Right? Is there any other, factors out there that they do see that is outside of these 3 that I just mentioned?
Some of them, they're actually elderlies. They actually get their retirement homes. They're looking to cash out and move to their retirement homes. That's also another one that's very common. Also, moving closer to family, moving closer to children's schools and workplaces, also another very normal reason that we usually get. One of the most common ones recently, like you mentioned just now, is aspirational, because I believe young couples right now are more and more financially literate. And when we sit down and talk with them, right, they actually have their Excel spreadsheets and everything, and so they are very well prepared, and they really see HDB as a stepping stone into their next property goal, which helps them eventually, be more self-reliant, and not only that, be more ready for retirement in the near future using real estate, which I feel that is a long vision, but it's actually something that we need to consider as well.
I think a lot of times, right now, even in the recent times, where we're reading in the newspaper, right, there is this lottery effect.
Yes.
Right.
The property lottery.
Yeah, the property lottery effect. So firstly is that I think a lot of home sellers out there that have a BTO M.O.P. is very lucky. Yes. I think 3 times luckier than most people out there. Firstly, they have to be able to get the BTO, yes, right, and get some ballot ticket, right? That's number 1. Secondly, they're lucky enough to find a unit that they do love.
Yes.
And thirdly enough, they then stay in the 5 years and they are staying in the M.O.P. cluster that did earn money. I think a lot of ministers out there, a lot of people in observing the real estate out there is that, how do you curb this lottery effect? Of course, putting that aside, a lot of HDB M.O.P sellers are enjoying this lottery effect. My point here is that we have seen so many people that have sold, right, have made a lot of money.
Yes.
We have also seen a lot of people that are on the fence.
Yes. Not sure whether to, should I sell? Should I cash out? What do I do after I cash out?
Especially for those M.O.P cluster that earn because they are in a great location. Correct. They are very convenient. Should then they stay? Yeah. Then should they then buy another one if they are buying the residential property and then they want to buy for rental while they are still staying here? Correct. Maybe talk to us about your experience meeting all these people.
I think one of the biggest things that we get is comfort. Then a lot of them are very comfortable. I'm really near my kids' school. I'm really near MRT. It's such a prime location. Why should I even bother to do something about it? And I feel that for us, many times, right? One of my favorite quotes is from my mentor. He said that every comfort that you have today is paid by tomorrow's suffering, and every comfort you have in your future is paid by today's pain. So you have to have a little bit out of your comfort zone, then you have a better future. So if you think in that direction, right, then maybe you can choose to cash out right now and then look to move. Because moving is the hassle, right? A lot of people are very concerned about that. To move from property A to property B, have to pack up and everything. But every time if you make the correct move, right, and you actually cash out and you actually have profit from maybe even 100 plus, 200, even 300K. We have even seen examples of $500,000 in property in one move. So it is really all about the right move and doing it correctly. Of course, I also understand some people, because of kids, they actually say, oh, maybe if I hold a few more years, I don't know what will actually happen. If I sell today, M.O.P, and 5 years from now, what do you think is actually the effect? This is a very common question I get from M.O.P people as well when I meet them in their homes. For me, I like to show them data and information. And for me, right, if you look at certain blocks, for example, similar clusters in Choa Chu Kang, in Punggol, you will see that the difference in price after 6 to 10 years after M.O.P is actually can be up to 200,000 less. So you can use to sell about 400,000-500,000, drop to 300,000+. And recently with the resurgence of HDB prices, right, actually I feel that it's another opportunity. It's like a second chance after 9 years of waiting since 2013, last property peak, right? It's another chance for us to look at our portfolio again, to see whether it actually makes sense to move forward. Many people choose to hold their property as well and also think about getting their second property and paying the ABSD for it.
Is it wise to continue to stay in your house and then if let's say you have additional income, then to buy a rental with ABSD if you are buying to choose to buy a residential property? No right, no wrong here. It all depends. I think a lot of times it dependent on the situation of the seller. Whether or not really life dictates that they have to continue to stay in their current place, that they have M.O.P, they're comfortable and stuff like that. Maybe their parents are just nearby, upstairs, downstairs and stuff like that. Like you shared, right? Whether or not you want delayed gratification or you want the immediate gratification. The immediate gratification is that they get to stay. Correct. I always say that no change is the most comfortable change of all. I feel in this case maybe talk a little bit about your experience, and maybe I'll share a little bit of my experience of the price trends that you see for M.O.P house.
For price trends, generally, actually, from what I see on the ground, the same people, because we go door knocking, we send flyers out to the estates, right? So the same houses that we sell for a certain price, let's say, for example, at M.O.P, it sells 4-room for almost 500,000. After 6 to 8 years later, the same property will sell for 100 or even 200,000 less. And then later, right, you actually see that the prices actually get lower or even stagnate. So you'll get to a point that it's actually quite flat. Do you want to have a maximum value of return over time? I think that's something that we need to consider when we choose whether to hold our property. What do you think, Casey?
I think I don't take a multi-year approach. I take even like a shorter time frame. Sometimes we do meet sellers that are pre-M.O.P.
Yes.
Right? So be it whatever reason that they have, multiple reasons that could be granted, say pre-early M.O.P, right? Meaning that, within 3rd year or 4th year, right, they could actually start selling their house before the actual 5 years of the minimum occupation period. That time is the time whereby it is very difficult to justify to the buyer that, the valuation have not actually catch up because there's no transaction.
Correct.
Right? When they bought it, they probably need to buy it at at a higher price than the valuation. And it's very usual for the M.O.P houses. But later on, when we see at M.O.P or a little bit before the M.O.P period, when we do look back at the transaction, in actual fact, the prices have actually come up.
Right.
And the 1 year ago or even 2 years ago, when you look back at the price that is transacted pre-M.O.P, is actually cheap.
Yes.
Because there are more transactions justifying the higher price.
And transactions is a supporting,
It's a supporting factor for the valuation.
Correct.
Then a little bit after, maybe 6 months or 8 months to a year after the M.O.P, then the price come up more and come down a little bit more, because the excitement is, I think, no longer there, right? Or it might just stagnate. Right. This is my experience on the ground, looking at really M.O.P houses.
When you conduct viewing for a 5-year M.O.P house, the number of viewers is a lot.
Yes.
A lot. And then after a while, the hype really dies down, right? That one is something very obvious. And then prices really do get affected after that. Yeah, so it's something that, you know, we have to consider as HDB owners that are at M.O.P right now. That do you want to strike when the iron is hot, when everybody's hype is there? Because people will move from cluster, especially new towns that have a lot of M.O.P clusters. They actually move from cluster to cluster. You see the same buyers, you're back. You know,
if you have multiple listings in that cluster,
then they actually move from cluster to cluster, and then you see them again, and then you know that there's actually a hype surrounding this place, such as Waterway Terrace is also another good example, right?
Yes, and definitely that's a beautiful, architecturally beautiful unit, and it's so convenient. It's just opposite Waterway Point. To summarize, my feel is that firstly, what's the motivation behind the sale of the place? Is it to sell just to sell? Right, sometimes it is. Sometimes the motivation, the push factor is probably you want to move to somewhere that is more suitable for the family. Right? Probably be it primary school, be it closer to the family, closer to the workplace, or whatsoever. Right? Or fulfilling an aspiration. It also dependent, I feel, on the cluster. Right? Is there more potential there? In the near future, maybe you want to hold, if let's say there's no real need to sell now, maybe hold a little bit longer. But whether or not, how do you determine? It's different from everywhere. Maybe give us a call. You know, we would love to talk it out with you guys. But if not, of course, you know, carry on watching this Singapore Property Talk Show. Maybe you shed some light.
Maybe you'll learn something along the way.
So that's how I summarize this question yourself.
And I feel that for those owners who are actually facing M.O.P right now, it's very important to discuss with your family, because I've met more than once that, you know, husband and wife have different ideas. You know, one wants to move to a bigger HDB, one wants to move to a private. So sit down and have a talk with family, especially now during this very interesting period. You have some time with your family. Sit down and talk with them. Plan ahead. It's very important not only to look at your goals, but also look at numbers with a professional. I think that will help you make things clearer, because every time we look at numbers, right, some people with very big ambitions, they might not be able to fulfill it. Some people, they actually don't have such ambitions, but their numbers are more than capable of doing so as well. So I think always have a chat with professionals, and after that, from there, you have a better idea for what to do next.
Oh, so I think you bring out a very, very interesting point, is the risk appetite. Some people can do it, but don't want to do it. Some people want to do it, but probably cannot do it.
I'm pretty sure you've seen 3-room flats before, because we've been doing upgrading for so long, right? You've seen 3-room flat owners that fully pay, and their CPF is like 200, 300,000 each. And then they're like, oh, I can't afford a condo. Like,
Probably I think it's the awareness portion.
Yes, correct.
Right? Another thing is the awareness, right? You don't know what you don't know.
And then the fear, the risk appetite. I think the risk appetite is the correct amount. The amount of comfort as well, or what you're going to do next.
Okay, I think that sums up the question.